Thank you so much, Senator Dibble. It has been an honor and a privilege of a lifetime to work with you over the past 15 years to advance justice, so thank you so much. I'm also just so humbled and honored to be here with all of you. And I'm just really honored to receive this award, so thank you so much to the staff and faculty and leadership at the Humphrey School of Public Affairs, and thank you to the other award winners and really just all of you. I can't thank you enough. This working class first-generation college student, first-generation grad student, out lesbian, was welcomed here and challenged and accepted. And I expected when I got to the Humphrey to feel like an imposter and an outsider, but the generosity of the faculty, staff, and students made that just absolutely impossible. And so I feel really fortunate I got to go to the Humphrey. And I have a lot of thanks. I also want to thank my partner, Julia Pasunda, and my mom, Diane Meyer. You two inspire me every single day to be a better me, so thank you. And I also have to just bring my dad into the room, George Meyer, who is no longer with us, but he is still always my #1 hero. And he would have been crying the whole time that he had been here and talked to all of you. It would have been great. I look around this room and I see champions. You are the people who do not sit on the sidelines when you see injustice. Thank you for your commitment to working so darn hard to improve this world. Thank you so much. I'd also like to recognize the champions that Senator Dibble mentioned of the LGBTQ movement who paved the way. I'm able to stand here before you tonight because of the Stonewall riots 48 years ago today, actually, that was led by trans people of color and the work of so many courageous people who dared to not only be out about who they are, but to fight for inclusion and justice. They got fired. They lost their families. They got arrested. They were ousted from their faith communities. And they faced violence and discrimination because of who they were, but they still came out. To me, leadership is about coming together to build our collective power to bring positive change in our communities. For the past 15 years, I've been really fortunate to work at OutFront, Minnesota, alongside true champions and leaders. What I see in them is what I strive to be every single day. We are committed, to creating a state where LGBTQ people don't face adversity, that they don't lay in bed at night and just hope that they're not and pray that they're not who they are. And that's someday, I hope that we don't have to be around. I hope that we can change that. This work isn't just about equality in our laws. It's about making our state a place where LGBTQ people not just survive, but actually thrive. It is about liberation. How many people in this room worked on the constitutional amendment to defeat the constitutional amendment to ban the freedom to marry for same-sex couples? Awesome. That's really great. We built the largest grassroots movement in our state, and we won because of it. And not only did we defeat that amendment, we made our state more inclusive and supportive of LGBTQ people. There were over 30, I think Senator Dibble mentioned, but there were over 30,000 people who actually volunteered numerous times on that campaign, over 67,000 donors. And together we accomplished what many thought was impossible. We persisted because of thousands of leaders like you who worked hard and took risks. We put ourselves out there, asked people to do more than they thought was ever humanly impossible. You never left anything, any kind of an event where you weren't asked to, could you stay until 10? Could you give a little bit more money? And people gave, and they gave of their time and their hearts to be able to defeat that amendment because it was so critical for our state to not be a state that would write into our Constitution such horrible things. And I also love that, what I love about this work throughout my time and also during that amendment is we talked about all the things at Thanksgiving that you're not supposed to. Politics, sex, and religion. And we could see during that movement that it depended on each of us to be leaders and take action. As Senator Dibble said, we became the first state to not only defeat a constitutional amendment like that, but also turn around and have marriage equality. And I think in the field of policy change, we all know that sometimes you pass policy and you're unclear of, how to assess the impact. But what was really amazing about this effort was we went from having zero legal protections for same-sex couples and their families to having full marriage and 100% of the legal protections. Which, right? When does that actually happen? And it was really incredible. And for me, it was really fun to watch the kids who got to talk about their parents and got to talk about how they finally felt like a family, that they weren't, that they felt for a long time that they had to stick up for their parents because the state was telling them something was wrong with being their family. And so today, OutFront Minnesota, we are working with thousands of LGBTQ youth across the state. And as someone who was bullied almost most of my school years, I am just so in awe of their tenacity and their courage. One of the youth we work with, I'll just tell one story about one person, but it's hard to even stop there. But one of the youth we work with was recently homeless because his family rejected him for being transgender. And despite facing severe conversion therapy episodes to try to change him, he is today working with us to organize and support LGBTQ youth. He's 18. He wants to work with younger youth. And he's working to ban conversion therapy on a state level to ensure that youth do not, and then also just in general, he's just working to ensure that youth don't feel bad or feel like something is tremendously wrong just for being who they are. And he's like so many of the leaders that we all know. They show courage, tenacity, humility, and openness in the face of challenge, opposition, and adversity. They are a lot like you. At this moment right now in our country, we are called upon as activists, organizers, and policymakers to advance equity and justice for all. We have a national administration promoting extreme racism, sexism, ableism, homophobia, and transphobia. We're fighting for the rights of LGBTQ folks. We're fighting for racial justice. We're fighting for women's reproductive rights. We're fighting against Islamophobia, xenophobia, and every other way where there's people trying to divide us. We must dedicate ourselves to keeping love and hope alive by continuing to do things together, even when they seem impossible. Let's love fiercely, learn to do better, open up our hearts, and fight for the world we dream it can be. Thank you so much. Thanks for all your work.